Welcome to the Design for Impact podcast. I'm Cara Prosser, an Aussie in London, an experienced designer and strategist obsessed with fixing the world's most broken systems.
And I'm Philip Lockwood-Holmes, an Englishman in Edinburgh, not New York. I work with leaders and organizations helping to turn good intentions into real-world impact. We are your hosts as we meet some of the world's most ambitious thinkers, builders, and changemakers who are redesigning the systems that shape our lives.
From ethical AI and climate innovation to women's rights, healthcare, and humanitarian work, each episode dives into the real stories behind people doing the hard, meaningful work of change. But at its core, we're exploring how can you use design and creativity for impact. Well, hi, Alberto. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to the Design for Impact podcast. I've been so looking forward to this episode. And as we're just talking about, I've worn my special gorilla in Uganda t-shirt for you today. My headphones won't let me go any further back, but that's from my time in Uganda in November last year. Probably the best day of my life, out trekking with the gorillas, but also I guess working with those communities in Uganda. And I know we're going to talk about that a lot today around, what you're doing at WWF and I guess that transition from animals into conservation and into people. But tell us about yourself. Tell us about your background and how you got to where you are now at the World Wildlife Fund.
Well, thanks for having me, both of you. And it's very exciting to be part of this podcast. I'm currently working for WWF, which has been a ride until I got here. And I'm from Spain, and I started working in advertising, traditional agency, your big Ogilvy's, BBDOs. And then I had the opportunity to move to Vietnam to lead a small agency that became fairly big. Thanks to, wings like the Coca-Cola account and things like that. But already back in there, I started seeing like a lot of, work that was being done in the country, whether it was people helping, nature organizations or building orphanages or, things that started getting my attention. To then when I moved to Australia and I started working for Isobar, which is Dentsu now, I started getting even more interested on the impact space with Isobar Good, which was one of the initiatives that Cara was leading there. And shortly after, I jumped from a client from agency to client or to brand, working for GoDaddy globally as a global career director. And after a while, I guess, it's the time you're in your early 40s and you're like, this crisis that just comes your way. And it's like, well, I think I need to do something that is a bit more meaningful, perhaps. The opportunity at WWF came my way, and I was lucky enough to land this position. And I can't be more excited and happy to actually be doing this at this point in my career and my life.
And as we've been speaking about, I feel like this is such a perfect job for you. Like, I know you've done lots throughout your career, but like, to me, you are a purpose-led creative. Like, it's like you can't help it. You just kind of bleed that sort of care and consideration into the world around how we're thinking about shaping the world for future generations. Like, that is just so you, Alberto. So I think talking about some of the work that you do now, I was just like, well, this just makes so much sense. But I think similar to me, like, I think and this is something we often talk about as well, right, is that like some of that experience in the kind of more traditional corporate sectors absolutely help you drive impact work as well, right? And it doesn't necessarily have to be kind of one or the other. So tell us a little bit around the World Wildlife Fund and I guess like the mission of the organization and where you guys are at the moment.
It was very interesting to learn, and when I first joined, that this was more than protecting animals, which is kind of what everybody had in mind. Somebody even told me, like, some people still think that we only work with pandas, which is crazy to think, right? But the truth is that the organization has been doing lots of conservation work with communities on the ground, with coastal communities or with indigenous people in forests. And that is what they do, really, or what we do. It is building programs and systems from the ground up to help these communities sustain themselves, whether it is through food or the use of resources from nature, and also help them on the conservation front, because a lot of these communities, they do live very close to certain wildlife that could create some conflict. So there's a lot of learning from both ends, and a lot of guidance that the communities can offer WWF, and WWF can also offer the local communities in these areas.
And so tell us a little bit more around your role in creative. Again, like, I know you, right? So I know what you do, and I know it's that kind of combination of kind of creative problem solving, art direction, copywriting, like the whole thing kind of end to end. But what do you and your team do within the organization?
I have a team, a fantastic team that is helping me every day to just get better at this and understanding the issues. You need to really get this learning hat on, because you cannot jump straight away into ideas, or it's not just a simple insight. No, it just goes beyond that. Then at the same time, we want to tell stories that are a little bit more lighthearted, that are not always as hard, because people are feeling nowadays that bad news, this is bad news everywhere. So our audiences are not reacting to those bad news anymore. So we need to find a way to offer them solutions, to offer them, to inspire with those solutions some hope, some agency, some action that they could be taking.
What are some example projects that you're working on at the moment? I understand some might be confidential, but kind of give listeners a sense of the kind of spread of the work.
So we have to do awareness campaign for things that are not brands, but for example, for tropical forests. Tropical forest feels like this thing that is distant for a lot of people, but in reality, they play a crucial and essential role in our daily lives, whether it is because of oxygen production or because they simply connect with other ecosystems around the world. And that is essential for life in this planet. So then you have to create an awareness campaign for it. It's like, how do you create an awareness campaign for forest? But what is the call to action? What do we want people to do? To visit them, to understand more about them, so those things become very interesting. So we do, of course, we create content, stories of conservation, stories of people, stories of success. We also lead at times with urgency. We need to, tell people the truth. Like, we're not in a great place, but if you look microscopically, there are a few things that are happening that we need to celebrate that could guide us in the future. And then we create also bigger campaigns. We are soon about to launch a campaign on tropical forests, is why I was mentioning it.
Yep.
And and it will happen with a beautiful film shot in Indonesia, plus a digital platform and an experience. We gamify that. Because at the same time, we need to entertain people. Entertaining, it's a very valuable thing, obviously. It has a lot of value for us. While we entertain, we can educate, and we can make people more aware of not only what we do as an organization, but also what's happening around the world in conservation, in climate action, and all these subjects. So we are more than just an organization. Our channels, because of the sheer size of our audience, we are almost like a media powerhouse, and our content is all about, climate action or conservation.
11 million followers, is that right? WWF?
We do have the international channels, the ones that we manage. We have across the board about 11 million plus.
So a lot of eyeballs.
A lot of eyeballs. Yeah.
So tell us a little bit more about your creative process with that. Like, do you sort of start with, okay, we need to raise awareness for X, Y, and Z, or actually we need to drive funding into these certain communities, or what's your process in terms of the starting point?
So it is, prioritization is key. It's very difficult. All the stories, there's an urgency to them. Every single communicator from the network, somebody who works with coastal communities, they're seeing the everyday impact of sea level, rising. People who work in climate, they see the everyday impact of what's happening with the world. So that could become very daunting and very frustrating because you really want to tell those stories, but you don't have the resources or the time to do those. So that frustration is difficult to manage. Once you manage that, you can start already working in briefings and being a little bit more, I guess, positive or hopeful about it. And our process, it's not that different from your traditional, a bit of a strategy, then write a briefing, and then work on the ideas. But we tend to be able to decide ourselves what goes and what doesn't. So there's not a client that's going to tell us yes or no. We know the brand, we know what it could be said. We know that we need to be respectful with certain, indigenous people or projects in particular.
And so what about AI? What's the role of AI in your process? This is a bit of a loaded question, so I'm hoping you're going to give me the answer I'm hoping
very
for.
Loaded, very loaded. AI in particular, that's a very interesting one because it's obviously everywhere, but we have a very strict AI policy, and it's being it's in development or it's almost finalized. But in essence, we have this rule: if it exists, we don't create it, we don't recreate it. So we have the lack that we have to work with reality more than many other companies or organizations as well, because we work with nature. What the things that already exist, the things that are more beautiful than whatever an AI could be creating. We celebrate nature that way. So we don't use AI. I play with it, and my team plays with it because we like to stay, on top of what's happening in the design and technology world. But the reality is, like, none of our outputs are AI generated or have touched AI at all. To the point that a lot of people have been questioning some of our content. We've the past there being a lot of beautiful films made in stop motion, handmade, and even now we have beautiful designs that people in our comments on an Instagram post, for example, they will be, you're using AI, you're killing the planet, you're this type of content. So we have to actually in our bio on Instagram or in some of the content we created, we stated that this is content created by nature and humans, not AI. So we're very strict with that. Having said that, obviously, we are a huge organization that works with tools that have AI integrated on it to whether it is process big data sets or so. It's very useful for obviously a lot of things. And the people working in conservation probably use it, as I said, to just keep track of those projects, but not for design output. So we don't use it.
You've sort of answered it how I hoped you would, but I guess I guess the sort of crux I'm getting to is, when we think about design for impact or creativity for impact, AI isn't something. And maybe not, I don't know, maybe people don't know this, but AI is not something new or innovative. It is based off things that exist. So when we're thinking about new ideas, new messages, new concepts, creative problem solving, yeah. And so I just wanted to sort of understand like how you bring that into your practice and how your kind of team tackle it.
I bring it into my practice if I need a bit of, I guess I'm still like the old school, just sit down with a piece of paper.
Using your brain.
And I'm
using your very own brain.
Because it's true that before WWF as well, I was like using it. Obviously, it's new. You use it a lot. You try to understand it, and I realized like, oh, my brain is getting a little bit atrophied. Like I'm not fully using it. So I stopped myself from doing it. So I thought it was very, very fresh to have it in here. But I still will use it for if I need some if I need to show some ideas to the wall, I'll see if they stick to just double check a few things, or like some for some data, from data purposes as well, to like I'll make sure the facts are correct. But for us, for example, we don't risk it. So if I need to double check a particular piece of information on a subject such as, tigers in China, I'm lucky enough that I can just literally message in my chat.
Your tiger in China expert.
And then it will like, yeah, this is a report, this is the info, this is da. So this that's priceless, and that's brilliant. But of course, the team uses it. I use it because we like to play with it and see what it spits. But everything we do, it's human or nature made, especially images and all the writing. Yeah.
Yeah, and that authenticity seems vital to me. Absolutely, because
I think so.
you need to represent nature as it is, right? That's
yeah, and that's the thing. Like we're trying to turn ideas into real world impact. So we need kind of real world ideas in a way. Having said that, I'm not trying to dismiss AI at all. I think it's an incredible set of tools that are very useful and they're fun to use. But it makes us work. The fact that they exist, it makes us work even harder an organization like this, because there's nowhere to hide it. Like we're talking about what's behind me. We're talking about the forest. We're talking about nature. So we can't recreate that. Not even for a voiceover. Not even for using sound effects in a video. So we're trying to do it. And when we create big campaigns right now, the other thing is like the extension of our team is all the agencies that actually come knocking on our door saying like, hey, we'd love to collaborate. We'll have this idea, or the ones that we call because we think they would be great partners. And we actually talk a lot with these partners about the AI, and a lot of them are proudly making stuff that is, as I said, like stop motion, for example,
Probably not AI.
or filming things. No. And then we tell them, well, we want to do that, but we also want to create a film that showcases how this was done, like behind the scenes on steroids, if you will. And they all love that because they are very proud of the work they're doing. And although they might use AI to facilitate certain processes, the core of it all, it's human, the design, the filming, the craft. So we try to emphasize that as well. So it's kind of real world for us here, and I love that. It's just very refreshing because it feels like here in these closed doors or the open doors and the outdoor, everything needs to be real, and you don't depend that much on the use of these new tools, which I love, but I don't want them to dominate the entire creative process, of course.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. And then there was a phrase you used, which was creating ideas that have real impact. So kind of picking apart, I'd like to delve both into kind of the ideas and the real impact. And earlier you talked about the voice of the global south here.
Mm-hmm.
And so I guess, we talked about 11 million being kind of the audience, the media that you can connect with. That's a lot of people. It's obviously a global audience. So how do you tell stories that work in a global context for different backgrounds, but also how does your team and the agencies you work with represent different voices? How do you kind of combine those two things together to do powerful work?
It's well, I guess you just try to tell the stories as they are, the truth on those stories, and it will resonate. At times, it will resonate more than other times. We don't have a magic formula. We're constantly testing. I think since I joined, we're testing more and more how serializing stories might work in our channels, like giving them, I keep saying, giving them the Netflix treatment. We tell some of the communicators, they come to us, I have these stories, like, great, we're going to do a 6-month series of this with this brand, and we're going to give it a little branding to it. So, it is true that historically our channels perform better when you put a cute animal on the front. People would like, engage, share, read, and we're trying to avoid that. I mean, it's we test the different things. Like, do we put a cute animal on the cover, and then we talk about the humans behind it? Does that work? But in terms of the diversity, I think it's a matter of like having good balance on the stories you're telling to make sure that all of them represent different parts of the world. But we don't really have a formula to tell those stories. We just have to make sure that that we always tell them, as I mentioned earlier, with truth, stories that might be already creating a certain type of impact. Luckily, as I said, my team is very diverse, and we count on individuals from all over the world. So they have different sensitivities, different points of view, and they always add to those things. So what I'm saying is that you can't please a whole global audience all the time.
Brilliant. And you talked about kind of diverse team. I guess you've got a team spread all over the world. How do you see your leadership in terms of pulling their differences out to make the work better? What is it you feel you do there?
Well, I think the credit is not as much as it's not mine as much as it's theirs in a way. I think something I learned in my previous role, I was working also in several, time zones with people sitting in different parts of the world from different cultures. I started doing that when I moved to Vietnam. Suddenly my team became a team of 11 people that were Filipino, Australian, French, Vietnamese. So it was when I fell in love with this, with the idea of cross-cultural design and cross-cultural creativity, because I thought it was brilliant, because you will hear ideas that to you might sound completely bonkers. Like, that doesn't make any sense, but suddenly that entire culture or part of the world thinks is the best idea in the world. And trying to understand why, I think it is what drove me to want to see that more and more and more, and work with people from all over the world even more. So I learned that the best way to learn from it was to get as many inputs as you could from the people. And for that, the essential thing you need to do is to create a safe space for everybody, where they feel comfortable, where they feel included, heard, where they can say the stupidest thing or the smartest thing, and everybody will have a laugh or will just find it interesting. So I think my credit is just to work with teams who are willing to be part of a team like that and build a space like that, because you don't build it just by yourself.
Brilliant. I want to work for you. Sounds good. So the other thing you mentioned earlier was kind of ideas for real impact. So kind of getting to that impact piece, what are the hard and soft measures that you use to show actually creativity and kind of storytelling that you do kind of delivers?
So we look after the brand. We decide how the brand sounds, looks like, and what the brand does. And then the offices across the world, they're the ones who will take the brand as we develop it and then run with it, and culturally make it more culturally relevant for their audiences. Now, they are also responsible for their own fundraising and how those more hard metrics are their thing. We at International, we don't do we do a little bit of fundraising, but it's very limited in certain areas of the world. So for us as a team, our goal or our KPIs, if you will, is actually to make the brand more relevant, more known, to make the brand the source of truth, for people to feel that the brand is the source of truth for all things conservation, wildlife, and such.
I guess at the start, you talked about kind of wildlife and nature, the fact that, one of the biggest threats is human. So kind of what's their role, responsibility to be sustainable and to make it work?
And it is, because we're, as I said, WWF's vision is a future where humans live in harmony with nature, right? So you just mentioned the word harmony. This is why, yes, it is sparked but obviously we need to, the reason we're with communities and with businesses is so we can transform the systems that will later ensure that nature can thrive. Yes, and particularly the areas of focus is why I mentioned a couple of times. For us, it is in food systems, and how food is produced, transport, and sold. It is in energy, obviously, big transition to clean energy, and then in finance. For us, we can think about climate change and feel anxious about everything that's happening and not know exactly how to act. But there's a lot of people around the world that are already feeling the loss, that are already grieving the loss of their habitats, communities, or that are about to do it, that they have to already act somehow. So I think this is our role. Our role, this is the job we have at hand, is to actually tell those stories and make sure those people, communities, animals, forests, have a voice and have a place in the stories we tell, so the entire world understands. How lucky are we to be where we are, particularly myself here or you there, versus those who are already being displaced by the consequence, by the the impact of the things that we've already done. irreversible things. So
No
Yeah.
pressure. No pressure on telling those stories, Alberto. I don't envy you lots of the time.
yeah,
And a great point to end, I think, because it kind of circles back to
Yeah.
the whole conversation. So excellent. I guess there's one final question before we wrap up. If there's one thing you want kind of people listening to take away from this discussion, what is it?
I thought I understood where we were, or the things that were happening, the actions that were being taken to kind of slow down, the climate change, to slow down biodiversity loss. But I didn't. I realized when I joined WWF that the machinery behind all of these, it's enormous, and no matter how big it is, it's never enough. So I realized also that very small actions can go a very long way. A takeaway is, we just need to be way more responsible individually for ourselves and the people around us. Again, you don't need to think beyond your family or your friends, because everything is a risk, and we don't have to think about it in a very doomish way. There is a lot of great things that are happening that we need to be thinking of and highlighting, and this is our role. WWF's role is it is to show the way, to show that solutions are on the way, that people are doing their best, that are great things happening, that are not enough, but there are great things happening. So I just don't want people to lose faith. We haven't lost this battle. I don't know if it's a battle, but we haven't lost the planet yet. And I think if you just do a little bit, whatever it is that you want to do, it will go a long way. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you, Alberto.
Amazing. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Yeah.